and welcome back to my channel. I am Morgan and this is Mo Adventures. Today I wanted to talk all things road trips. I grew up road tripping all the time. I'm the youngest of four and my parents had a goal by the time I graduated high school to travel all 50 states. Now, it was by the time I was 21 that we hit all of the continental US, so 48 of the 50 states. And we accomplished that by road tripping. We would take a 2-week or longer vacation every summer and drive and try to hit 3, 4, maybe 5 states. My dad had a Suburban, so we all shoved in and hit the road. And so I have a lot of advice on things to bring, how to kind of get going on your road trip. And so I thought I'd share with you. First and foremost, my number one when you are on a road trip is have your music. I can't get started on my road trip without having my playlist going. And I think it's really important to have your playlist and having a long playlist already created for your road trip so that you don't have to stop and figure out what music or tell the passenger, hey, I want this playlist going. So actually what happened when we were kids, I always somehow fell into creating that playlist for my family. We'd pick a category of music, we'd create that playlist, and then we'd have hours of music to go. Sometimes it would be musicals, and sometimes it was folky and Mumford & Sons. Sometimes it was classic rock for my dad. So we all had different type of music that we loved and were ready to go on our road trip. Now, probably the main number one that you should have is your directions. Make sure you know where you're going and you have that all set before you set out. An important thing is if you know you're going to be driving through an area where there's not cell phone service, make sure your GPS is set up prior to going through that no cell phone service. I have had to go on road trips where I lose my directions because of not having any cell service when I was hiking down in Georgia. But if you have it preset and honestly, if you know you're going through no cell phone service, have a printed copy just in case. The other thing with directions to think about is if you know you're going on a long trip, maybe a day or two, try to pick out roughly where your stopping points will be. Now, you don't have to actually stop on these points. My parents always had kind of an outline of if someone needed to go to the bathroom, get food, stretch their legs, if we need to pull over and sleep at a different hotel and not make it as far as we thought, we always had that a little bit outlined, so we kind of had an idea of where to go. What is a great thing is we do have our cell phones nowadays, so Google on your trip where you can stop, and that is helpful. But having a rough outline, especially if you have children, it's a little bit easier for your trip, and it doesn't make it feel as long because you're able to add these stops. You can also add intentional stops. So say you're going on a 2-3 day road trip, you can add, oh, here's a zoo here, or here's the biggest rubber band ball, and here's a hike to do. So there's always things that you can add into your road trip to get to where you actually were going. I'm a big snacker. I always travel with my snacks. My backpack always has snacks for when I'm flying, and I always have snacks on a road trip. It's very important, especially if you don't want to stop a lot to get food. Snacks are good. And if you have children, you can divide them out into little snack bags prior to getting in the car. So your one daughter wants a little snack, you can hand them that snack bag that's already portioned out rather than having to divide it out in the car. Now, if you're older, just pass around the bag and that's good to go. With snacks, always have your waters, your coffees, your extra drinks that you will need, and make sure you have a trash bag to put all of the trash in. Not only have a trash bag or container, however you do that, but make sure you have extra plastic bags in your vehicle because you don't know if you might need that for something. For example, if someone gets sick or someone's clothes get water spilled all over them and you want to put them in a bag. On the topic of food, when we used to road trip, we used to always have a cooler with us because a lot of the times we would be staying at Airbnbs or staying at little lodges when we were traveling around the different states. But the older we got, we realized that the cooler, there was water, so we then changed to ice packs in them or freezing water in a gallon water bottle. But then my parents discovered like a mini fridge cooler where you plug into the cigarette outlet in your car. My dad did have a Suburban, so we were able to plug it into our trunk of the car and have our little fridge there, and it's really helpful. If you have a smaller car, I don't know if you'll have that in the back of your car, but you could always extend it to the front. So if you have the money to invest in it, I think it is wonderful. It saved us on groceries for traveling and being able to use something where we could put our cold sandwiches in and have lunch when we're road tripping rather than having to stop all of the time to pick up food. This is something that was really a must-have for us the more we traveled, especially on road trips as 6 of us. Always have your chargers, have multiple charger cords. You don't know if one's gonna break, and have your car charger. Another thing that is a great thing to have, same with, instead of plugging into your regular charger, it's basically like an extension cord and it has regular plugs in. So if your children are in the back and they want to plug in their devices, they totally can. And that's something that multiple people can then charge for a long drive. Movies are a great thing to keep your children occupied while going on a really long trip. We had the flip down screen, which I know a lot of vehicles have now, and a lot of vehicles now you just use your iPad for it, but make sure you have those movies prepped for your children so that you're not fumbling around with all of the DVDs, or I don't even think people use DVDs anymore, but being able to easily access and get those movies going for your children. I know that my parents never wanted to listen to the movies, and me and my 3 siblings would. So we had headphones that connected to our TV screen so we could listen to it and my parents could listen to something else. However, there was always one headphone that at some point during the trip, the batteries ran out. So make sure you have extra batteries for those headphones so that your kids can keep listening to the movie and you don't have to, or other devices that your children might have or you have those extra batteries. Something also great to have is like a pillow and a blanket for you, for your children, so that everyone's comfortable, can take little rests while you're going. If you're alternating sleeping and driving, having a pillow and blanket is really nice. And then also, if one person likes it a little colder in the car and the other person's cold, you got a blanket, you're good to go. Same, wear your layers. I always travel in layers with a little button up or a sweatshirt to go. With traveling and regular life, safety is always a priority of mine. Make sure you always have your first aid kit in your car. I did do a video, which I can link down below, all about first aid kits and how you can build your own or buy a pre-made one. But first aid kits are really, really important. Make sure they're restocked if you used something. With safety, I also always have a AAA card. So if something happens to my car, a flat tire, something happened, I can call AAA and they'll be out there to help me wherever in the state. I know my dad has definitely called them in different states and they're always there for us. Or some type of car insurance that you have to do that. With road trips, not only having a first aid kit and having your AAA membership, but have a just in case cleaning supplies, especially with children. Something might drop, something might get dirty, you're gonna need to clean it up. If someone gets sick in the car, that's why you're going to want those plastic bags, but you're going to want paper towels and cleaning products to clean up any messes that happen so that everyone is comfortable still on their drive. So just put a little bin in your car in the back of your cleaning supplies. It helps. Even if you don't use it on your first road trip, you might need to use it on your next one. As you're traveling, you might get bored, your children might get bored. Always have your in-car activities. I think it's important to have a separate bag for your in-car activities. So it could be your backpack where you have your computer, your laptop, games, books, all of that. Or it could be literally a separate small bag that you give to your child that has their whiteboard, their magnet tiles, something that they can use in the car. And then that bag can just stay in the car and you can hand it back to them. And it's kind of easy. So that is all prepped. They have their activities, they have books. And what my sister does that we also did as children, make sure you have games and activities that if you have 2 children or 3, you can shift between them and it kind of works between all 3 of them. So if one gets bored of them, we can always flip activity bags. It also helps with your luggage. If you have all of your luggage in the back and say, I want my iPad, I want my book, I don't have to then go pull over, go back into my luggage to get that book or get that iPad or whatever else I want. I have my separate bag up with me in my little space. So I have activities to do. A great way to also organize those, other than having just your little bags, there are little bins that you can sit in between your seats and then you can organize them. My cousin uses one where she has her books for her son, and then they have cup holders around, which are great, especially with kids. They have their juices or their waters, or I have my coffee and my water and maybe a soda, and I don't have enough cup holders for that. Having an organizational bin in the center, I can use that for cup holders as well. A must-have to do for me on road trips is organizing your luggage so that when you stop, you just have to pull out little bags. What I mean by that is when we were younger, we used to drive through different states to get to our final destination. But say we were supposed to get there in 2 days, we would have to stop the first night to sleep somewhere. Instead of going through all of our luggage after we organized it perfectly in the car, going through all of our clothes in our suitcases, we had each a little duffel bag. Now you could share your duffel bag, or each kid gets their own little backpack, little bag that sat on the top of your luggage. And that first night, you stopped at that hotel, you just grabbed that bag, took that in. Now that had your toiletries, your pajamas for that night, and your outfit for the next day. Then you throw your dirty clothes back in there, get in the car, and go. Sometimes what we would do is we would have just one toiletry bag for the whole family. So no matter what, you would always grab your toiletry bag, and then you would grab that night's clothes if you needed. This way, you don't have to unpack that very well-packed car that I'm sure you worked really hard on every time you stop for just one night, and everything is organized. And then what you can do with those bags, can repack them when you stop at your final destination for your going back and do the same thing, or you can put your dirty laundry in those bags. This way it kind of is organized and it's easier for your trip. I hope that makes sense, but that's kind of what we always did, just being strategic about our packing. Last but not least, a must-have always for a road trip was a camera. My mom and dad, when traveling the United States, had rules for how the states would count. We had to do something in the state. A lot of times it had to be what locals would do, not tourists. And to prove that we were at that state, every time at a state border, we pulled over and stood in front of the state sign and took pictures. Now, sometimes we pulled over and had to walk back on a bridge to take a picture in the middle of the bridge. This was all safe. We were on the side of the road, not being hit by cars. Sometimes in North Dakota or Arkansas, it would be in the middle of nowhere. There would be no cars and just a field of animals on farmland, and we would take pictures, and it would be so much fun. My sister did not enjoy it, but looking back, it was the best things of our road trips. You always knew, even if you were sleeping, my dad would be like, all right, we're pulling over and we're getting out and we're taking those photos. So creating those memories on your road trips and having that camera to document them is a wonderful thing to have. I love it, and looking back, I wouldn't change anything on our road trips because we got to document those memories. Sometimes I just wanted to sleep, but hey, we did it. Even at night, we would take a picture with the sign with a flash on. So no matter what on your road trips, I hope this helped, but create those memories and enjoy, and try to just relax into your trip. These are all must-haves that I take on a road trip. There are probably things that I've missed and things that maybe you take that I haven't thought of. So please leave comments down below on what else you take on road trips. I hope this helped. These are my must-haves. I will also link down below my must-haves while traveling, which includes journals, where my parents would always have us journal about our day, which was so much fun to then recap on our day of adventures, even if we just drove and took a picture by the state sign. It was always fun to recap that and write that down. So check out my other videos, comment down below on what I should do next, and different things that you bring on your road trips. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Travel safe. Bye!